What's going on, gardeners? It's Monday, September 9th, and on today's video, I'm going to be planting fruit trees at my future homestead property.
If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and check out my Amazon store and Spreadshop links in the video description for everything I use in my garden and awesome custom apparel and gear.
It's hard to believe, but it has been an entire year since I took you for a tour of this property that I was considering buying back last year in the late summer of 2023. I went ahead with the purchase, and what you see right in front of you is a little bit less than 4 acres that is located in north central Florida. And yes, it is still incredibly hot and humid right now. It was quite a bit of work just getting this far into the property. But now that I'm here, I want to plant a few fruit trees. Now, the first thing I noticed is it is absolutely incredible how quickly nature reclaims an area. When I originally took you for a tour of this property a year ago, it was completely mowed and wide open, but it has already turned into a tall field full of brush and grass. And I have a feeling that if this is never mowed, this is going to start becoming a native forest again by the time I eventually find my way down here, because this is probably a 5 to 7 year plan when it comes to me actually moving to this area. I am going to be in North Carolina for the long haul. But that being said, the old adage says the best time to plant a fruit tree is 7 years ago. The second best time is today. Well, I'm going to plant these trees today in hopes that they will be mature fruiting trees in 7 years, because eventually when the time comes to move here, well, I want to have some mature fruit trees on the property so I don't have to start completely from scratch. Last year, when I took you for a tour of this property, I planted this Giambo persimmon, which is an exact clone of the Giambo persimmon in my yard that I grafted myself onto Native American persimmon rootstock. And believe it or not, completely unattended for a year, this tree has survived. Now, I wouldn't say it's thriving. It hasn't grown all that much, but it is alive, and it's probably putting down a nice healthy root system. And I did bring some bags of compost to help give it some nutrients to further it along, since we're dealing with pretty crummy Florida pine sand soil right here that doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it. So what exactly did I bring to plant down here? Well, I brought down with me 3 trees, and I did this as cheaply as possible so it would be low risk. This is a Takaka pineapple guava or feijoa tree. This is a clone of the Takaka that I have planted in my yard right now, so this basically didn't cost me anything. Of course, I had to bring a fig tree down, and this is a Smith fig tree. This is probably my favorite overall fig for the southeast because of how versatile and early it is, and I think this will be a great one to get in ground early here in Florida. And again, this is a cutting from my tree. And then the only fruit tree that I actually bought was this avocado tree. I bought this from 4 Winds. Now, earlier I showed you I planted a Stewart cold hardy Mexican avocado on my property in North Carolina, zone 8B. But here I'm on the 9B, very close, only a few miles from the 10A line. So I can pretty much plant, for the most part, any avocado I want. So I decided to go with a holiday avocado. And this appears, there's not much known about this tree. It's only gaining popularity in California, but it is believed to be some kind of hybrid cross between a Guatemalan and West Indian variety. There's a gentleman growing this in Homestead, south of Miami, with good results. So this looks to be very similar to Hass-like fruit, but extremely large. So I'm really excited to get this in the ground. There's not much information other than that on this avocado tree growing in Florida. So we're going to see how it does. I don't know how cold hardy it is, but most of these trees are good to 26, 27 degrees, and they do usually get a frost or freeze 1 or 2 nights a year here in zone 9B. Now, I was smart enough to bring a weed whacker down here because I saw this coming, and boy, I'm glad I brought it. So I had to clear out myself a walking path and an area to plant these fruit trees. Now, I dug my 3 holes and I tried to place everything as strategically as possible. Avocados like very sandy, well-draining soil, so I gave it the sandiest spot, and I also planted it in the corner of the property because in the corner, in theory, it will be most protected from frost and freeze. So that's why I put it here, and it also has a little bit of a pine and oak canopy above. Figs come from the Mediterranean, so they can deal with a bit of a heavier soil. It's still pretty sandy because it's Florida, but I gave the fig the heaviest soil. And then over here is the pineapple guava. I gave this the piniest soil because they like it a little bit more acidic. So again, you have the pineapple guava here, you have the fig here, and you have the avocado way back there, and then the persimmon is straight ahead by my tripod. So I wanted to give everything a nice generous 10 to 12 foot spacing because I won't be here to prune and maintain them like I do at my home. So I need to give them more room to branch out. Now, there are some really important concepts that you have to know if you are going to plant out an empty property that you haven't moved into yet. I specifically picked the corner of this property because if I decide to build on this house, I have no idea where a survey that the builder does would have to place everything. What if only a certain spot in the yard percolates well for a septic tank? What if utilities have to come in from a certain direction? What if your driveway has to be a certain length? What if the ground is only appropriate to pour a foundation in a certain location? So for that reason, I don't want to place these trees anywhere where developing and building a house one day could have them be mowed down. So I know that I'm never going to have a house built in this corner up against the property line where the neighbor is. So I specifically tucked these away in a secluded spot. I gave them 12 feet of spacing because I'm not going to be here to take care of any of these trees. So I need to make sure they have enough space to grow without being pruned, but maybe once every 1 or 2 years when I come down here to visit. And I also placed them in a location where there seems to be the least amount of weed overgrowth because these things are going to have to sink and swim on their own. I will not be here to take care of the weeds, so these weed roots are going to compete with the trees. So that's why I laid things out the way I did. Now, you saw that I already got some bags of compost that I brought down with me from North Carolina. I'm also going to use some contractor's paper that I'm going to lay around the root areas of the trees because I want to make sure that they stay free from competition, from weeds, for at least 6 to 12 months to get established. And we'll be heading into winter soon, even though it's horribly hot and humid right now. So things will slow down even in Florida because we are in North Florida after all. So we will backfill the trees with the native soil. We will place the contractor's paper around it, and then we will give each tree 2 bags or 2 cubic feet of compost. I also brought a 5-gallon water jug with me that I filled up with water so I can give each individual tree more than a gallon of water. And here are the results. We have my original persimmon tree that I planted last year. I gave it some fresh compost. Then next to it I have the new holiday avocado that I did have to stake very loosely with expandable tape. This variety is known to have a really rough drooping habit, so I need to give it a little bit of support, but I made sure to tie everything loosely, and I took that plant tag and I made it really, really wide so there's plenty of room to grow. I will definitely be back before that plant tag becomes an issue. Then next to it, I have my fig tree. The Smith fig is looking really incredible. Happy about that. And then last but not least, the Takaka feijoa or pineapple guava. This is also looking fantastic. And you'll see I placed the compost in a ring so the water can kind of collect around it because these trees will need several months to establish before they become pretty much self-sufficient. Which brings me to my final point. Some of you may be wondering, why did I wait for the hottest, most humid time to come to Florida and plant trees? Isn't that a bad idea? Well, the Florida peninsula is very different than the rest of the continental United States. Most of the United States has 4 seasons, and it's best to plant trees either in the spring or fall. But on the Florida peninsula, not the panhandle, that is more seasonal, but the peninsula has more of a wet, dry season pattern. So from roughly October 15th to May 15th, it rains very little. So unless you are there to constantly water trees, your trees are going to fail. It is much easier to plant the trees during the rainy season, which starts in the beginning of June and goes until the beginning of October. So because I planted them in early September, I have roughly a 30 to 45-day window where it's going to rain almost every single day and basically take care of the trees for me. It's going to actually start storming in about an hour and a half, really. So that is why I chose this time of year to plant these trees. Had I planted them during a cooler time of the year where it would have been easier for me, I would have had to have been here at least 3 or 4 days a week to water them, and obviously that's not going to happen. So this is a true food forest setup where these trees are going to have to be self-sufficient. We're only using compost, we're only using rain from the sky, no fertilizer. So we planted all the trees and we'll have to come back again in 6 to 12 months and see if they survive. So everybody, I sure hope you enjoyed this video, checking in from my homestead in North Central Florida. If you have any questions about any of the trees that I planted in this video, or you just want to know more information about this homestead in general, please ask the questions down in the video description. I will check in with this place every 6 to 12 months, take a little trip down here with Brittany and Dale, go to the beach for a few days, and check out the property. But again, I have no intention on moving here anytime soon. This is 5 to 7 years in the future. I'm in North Carolina for the long haul. This is just a fun little long-term project, but hopefully with your support, I'll be able to make it happen sooner than later. So everybody, again, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you're notified when I release more videos like these. If you're interested in supporting my channel, you can expand the video description and click on the Amazon storefront link. Everything in that store I use in real life in my garden, so check out the stuff that I use to make me successful in the garden. And while you're down there in the video description, you can also check out my spread shop for custom merch if you want to support the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see all of you again on the next video. Well, we are taking a family trip to Florida. We're driving down and we're at a gas station in South Carolina, and Dale is very intently waiting for Mommy to get back from the bathroom. He is staring straight ahead, wondering, when is Mommy coming back? When is she coming back? There's so much noise here, buddy, from all the tractor trailers. He's overwhelmed by all the sights and the sounds. But we're doing really well, right, buddy? We're just waiting for Mommy. Mommy's gonna be right back. He won't even go in the truck without his Mommy. Yay, Mommy's back and Dale is relaxed again. Look, he looks so happy and relieved in his big truck bed. Man, this is an awesome bed. I just love it. If you all need an awesome bed for your truck, I'll make sure to drop a link in the description for this, because this is super for our super boy.